Please rise in body or spirit for our hymn from the Gray Hymnal, number 114, Forward Through the Ages. We bid you welcome. In this community of radical inclusion, we make space for what you believe and what you love. Your whole self is welcome here. In this community of open-hearted inclusion for all people, we do not expect you to think a certain way or restrict yourself to one set of beliefs. We only ask that you try to live a kindly, helpful life with the dignity proper to a human being. Welcome all who believe that religion is wider than any sect and deeper than any set of opinions. Welcome all who might find in our friendship strength and encouragement for daily living. We are so grateful that you are here. My name is Jessie Sanchez, and I'm your service leader today. My pronouns are she and her. Thank you for spending your Sunday morning with us, whether you're enjoying the service in person or watching online. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors today. After the service, we invite you to join us for coffee and conversation downstairs in our meeting hall. Please take a moment now to silence your phones, but we do encourage you to share your presence with us here today on your social medias. So we have quite a few announcements this morning. Next week, please join Save the World on Sunday, February 16th at 7 p.m. downstairs in Adams Hall to talk about the things we can do in the face of many things we can't change. We'll talk about figuring out what you want or need to address, how your skills and talents can be helpful, and how to find the best ways to use them. The best way to defeat the overwhelm is to do the next right thing. Let's ease ourselves into action. Like to read? Join others for a new quarterly book club discussion. We will meet on Tuesday, March 4th from 7 to 9 p.m. In Adams Hall. This discussion will focus on the 2019 Pulitzer Prize winner in fiction, The Overstory, by Richard Powers. Whether you've read it before or it's new to you, crack open those books over the next month. We'd love to have you join our discussion. Please join us for the Gold Plate dinner on Saturday, February 15th in Adams Hall at 7 o'clock. A link to the reservation form was sent in the Friday e-blast. In addition to reserving your place, you can view the menu and make your selection of vegetarian or non-vegetarian soup and entree. The cost is $50 per person, payable prior to the dinner. Please see Karen DeGay or Linda Brown to pay. We look forward to sharing this special meal with you. Our shoe fundraiser has begun. Please bring in your gently worn shoes and leave them in the designated bins, and I think either at the front vestibule or maybe downstairs. And also, ask your friends and family, coworkers, everybody's got old shoes, have them bring in and contribute. The Communications Committee has purchased a number of yard signs for people to take home. So if you would like to take a yard sign, they're downstairs. You can just take one for free. We also have the wire step stakes for you, so you can place them in your yard, although the ground's a little frozen right now, so it might be a little hard to do, but you could still put it in your window, whatever, until it thaws out. But maybe just one per household, so we make sure we have enough for everybody. If you want more signs, there's going to be a sign-up sheet, and there's going to be a small cost, but we can put another order in. There'll probably be about $5 per sign if we have enough folks who are interested in more. And are you the chair of a committee? Remember that your budget requests for the 2025 church year are due tomorrow, February 10th. So if you have them ready, please email them to Barb Eglinton and Katie Coger, as soon as you are able. And if you have any questions, please ask them or another board member of the executive board. So also remember, just check that UUCF website and our emails for other announcements that are about upcoming events. Mike DeMott is going to do our chalice lighting today. So we are Unitarian Universalists who put love at the center of our lives. We light this chalice today as a reminder to include ourselves and include others and break down the barriers that keep people out. Please join me in reciting our UUCF mission statement, which can be found in your order of service. We seek answers everywhere, include everyone, live with compassion. Our RE coordinator, Argo Kramer, is going to lead us in our message for all ages, after which our children and youth will remain in the service today.
Hello, I am Argo Kramer. I use he, him, or they, them pronouns. I am your religious education coordinator, and today I'm reading The Proudest Color by Sheila Moore-Deer and Jeff Koshow with illustrations by Monica McKay. I am like a box of crayons. Bright and colorful, I see and feel in color. When I am happy, I feel a rush of razzle-dazzle pink in my hands. When I'm mad, I feel sparks of bright red across my cheeks. When I am sad, I feel a deep blue in my eyes. When I am nervous, I feel a vivid purple in my stomach. When I am proud, I feel a beautiful brown in my heart. But for me, brown is more than feeling proud. It's the color I see when I see me. It's the color that people see when I come into a room, get on the bus, or go to the store. It's the color on my arms, my toes, and my face. The night before my first day of school, my mom tucks me into bed and kisses my forehead. She says, "Zahra, you felt many different colors today, but your beautiful brown skin is here to stay. All those feelings come and go, but your brown skin glows and glows." I press my arm against my mom's, and I like seeing the differences and similarities in our shades of brown. I stare at my brown arms the next day at school and remember my mom's words, "Your brown skin glows and glows." I feel a rush of brown pride in my chest and march into my classroom, radiating sunshine yellow confidence. At recess, my classmate Zoe presses her arm against mine, wrinkles her nose, and says, "You're so dark. I don't like brown." And everyone laughs. I stare at our arms and feel many colors swirl inside me. I feel bright red anger in my cheeks and deep blue sadness in my eyes. But I don't feel brown pride inside my chest. In that moment, I wish I wasn't brown on the outside. At dinner, I tell my parents what happened at school. My mom and papa tell me that there are people who can be mean when they see my beautiful brown skin because it is different from their skin. But we want you to remember all the people who share your brown skin and all the important things they have done in this world. Brown is the color of your abuela, who loves to hug and kiss you. It is the color of your school principal, who high-fived the students as they walk down the hallway. It is the color of your doctor, who helps you feel better when you are sick. It is the color of Martin Luther King Jr., who inspired America with his dream of equality. It is the color of Malala Yousafzai, who bravely stands up for girls to be able to go to school. It is the color of Cesar Chavez, who helped workers have safe and fair places to work. It is the color of former President Barack Obama, who helped keep our country safe and strong. And it is the color of Kamala Harris, who was the first woman to be vice president of our country and said that she wouldn't be the last. It is the color of Frida Kahlo, who boldly painted her culture and brought attention to female artists like you. All these people have beautiful brown skin like yours. As they tell me about each of these brown and beautiful people, I feel a rush of razzle-dazzle pink spread to my hands. Even though I might be the only kid with brown skin in school, I am part of a very special box of crayons. This box is full of amazing people from all around the world and throughout history who are brown like me. No matter what Zoe says, my brown skin is important, and it's a color that makes a big difference in the world. It's the color that I am, and I will make a difference in the world. I see brown all over my skin. I feel brown fill my heart, and I feel proud.
Argo. Today's meditation is going to be a little bit different. So if Kyle, if you could put the picture up on the wall. Kyle is going to display a picture of a statue of Harriet Tubman and Thomas Garrett that's in Wilmington, Delaware. There it is. Sometimes when I'm with you, I just already start choking up because I imagine what we are doing and the world we're creating. You probably know Harriet Tubman. One of the stories that this congregation tells about itself is that Harriet Tubman had spoken in this building when it was downtown. We don't know. It's a story that's passed down. You probably know Harriet Tubman, one of the greatest conductors of the Underground Railroad. She took many, many, many risks in her lifetime, and because she believed that it was possible for a new way. She wanted to save people's lives. You may not know about Thomas Garrett standing there with her, or with the lantern, who led more than 2,000 people to freedom and lost his family fortune doing so. They were friends and co-workers for justice. Both were motivated by their faith and the promise of a truly free America to do the work, the risky work that they did. I mean, the lives were literally on the line. They saved other human beings from the terrors of enslavement. So this is a statue that's part of the National Park Service, and yes, we know that they are also under attack, so keep them in your thoughts. From what they wrote, Tubman and Garrett worked together from about 1854 until 1860, as documented in Garrett's surviving letters. He raised money to aid Tubman's missions and supported her in his home. When Tubman rescued her parents, she entrusted them to Garrett's care until she could follow. Let's sit with this photograph for a minute. Enter into it. What draws your attention? Can you imagine yourself in this picture? Can you imagine what they did in their time to make the world a place that is beyond what could be in that time, but they dreamed it, they worked for it. What do you feel now? Let's take a moment, wherever you are, feel the energy in your space, whatever's come up for you. Maybe take a moment and just ask for wisdom and courage for wherever that comes from for you. Seek direction of the Spirit when you are called on to take a step and move forward. And imagine what you might do as we are called to move into the resistance. Amen. Thank you, Kyle.
We make space every Sunday for authentic and vulnerable sharing, which helps to build this congregation into beloved community. We invite you to share what's going on in your life, to name your feelings and the people in your heart in need of prayer, good energy, best wishes, and other help. You are welcome to come pick up a stone or stones from the table Infuse or charge it with your joy or sorrow and place it in the singing bowl where its energy will ripple out to be held by all of us. If you'd like to verbally share something important on your heart, please come up and speak directly into the microphone, that one right there. All are welcome to participate in any of these ways. We light 3 candles for the intentions that rest in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. One for the joys, one for the sorrows, and one for the strength of the gathered community that can help support you and bring you peace.
Please remain seated to sing our meditation song, number 1023. It's in the teal hymnal, Building Bridges. And while Linda comes up, I'll say my own little joy is that my cast was removed last week, and now I have a brace for another month. So, thank you, Linda.
We're going to sing this as round. So the first time we'll sing it through all together. Then I'll start with this. Through twice as a round. Building bridges between our divisions. I'll reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all our divisions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. I always love a round. Our offering words today come from Jessica Lynn. I come on Sunday feeling weary, having worn out the snooze button on my alarm clock. I come on Sunday feeling frightened, having seared my eyes reading the latest news. I come on Sunday feeling burdened, having fretted about my workday worries. But I leave Sunday feeling refreshed, having been renewed by the spirit of love in the community that exists here. I leave Sunday service feeling whole, feeling lifted up by the words of righteous challenge. I leave Sunday service feeling energized, ready to continue our fight for peace and justice. This haven, this refuge, this place of worship and wonder exists because we make it so with our contributions, the gifts of our time, our skills, our food, our love, our laughter, and our money. Please join me in giving so that we may continue to have a place that fortifies and challenges us in these trying and troubled times. Please join me in reciting the offertory blessing that can be found in your order of service. To the work of creating a beloved community within and beyond these walls, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings. Today's reading was published in the winter 2011 UU World Magazine and adapted with permission from The Empowerment Saga by Mark D. Morrison Reed. In Darkening the Doorways, Black Trailblazers and Missed Opportunities in Unitarian Universalism, edited by Mark D. Morrison Reed, Skinner House Books, 2011. Regarding race, our religious tradition's attitude during the first half of the 20th century shifted with the nations. As its attitude liberalized, so did ours. We were engaged in, but not at the forefront of movement calling for racial justice. In 1963, the General Assembly, the annual meeting of congregations, rejected a resolution that would have required congregations to drop racially discriminatory restrictions from their bylaws. In doing so, the annual meeting chose to reaffirm a bedrock UU principle, congregational polity, over freedom of access. The same assembly overwhelmingly supported a resolution encouraging congregations to practice non-discrimination, requiring it of new congregations and creating the Commission on Religion and Race. The 10-member commission included 5 African Americans and 1 Latino. In 9 of the 10 years leading up to the 1965 civil rights protests in Selma, the GA passed 1 or more resolutions supporting desegregation, civil rights, integration, and African independence. In 1963, over 1,000 UUs, led by UUA President Dana McLean Greeley, participated in the March on Washington. Thus, when the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called on clergy of all faiths to come to Selma after the savage beating of peaceful protesters on Sunday, March 7, 1965, UUs were ready to respond. Indeed, they already had. On March 6th, 72 white Alabamans had marched on the Selma courthouse, decrying white violence. Half were UUs for Huntsville, Birmingham, and Tuscaloosa. By March 9th, 45 UU ministers and at least 15 lay people had come to Selma, answering King's appeal. Then, in response to the Reverend James Reeves' murder, assaulted March 9th, he died 2 days later, another wave of UUs, including the UUA Board of Trustees, arrived. Still more joined on March 25th as the march from Selma entered Montgomery. African American UU emotional involvement was high, but their presence was minimal. Henry Hampton, UUA Director of Information, arrived from Boston on the same plane as James Reeb. Dr. John L. Cashin Jr. and his wife Joan, members of the Huntsville Church, also marched. After Reeb's death, the Reverend Louis A. McGee, 71 years old, came from California to attend the memorial service. Emerson Mosley from Barnstable, Massachusetts, and his daughter participated in the march to Montgomery. After the initial march ended and a white UU, Viola Liozzo, was slain, Mosley's wife Margaret arrived as a voting rights worker. While the beating of African American citizens on the Edmund Pettus Bridge and the deaths of Black Jimmy Lee Jackson and white UUs Reeb and Liozzo galvanized Americans and led to congregational action, Selma marked a sea change in Unitarian Universalism. 500 UUs participated, from over 140 of them UU clergy, representing 20% of the ministers in final fellowship. Across the country, many UUs organized or joined protests and marches. The intensity of the experience transformed them. The consensus about racial justice sharpened. The level of commitment rose. While UUs had been promoting integration and equality of access since the 1940s, Selma signaled the seriousness of the UU concern for racial justice, a commitment reaffirmed when, in 1966, King delivered the Ware Lecture at the General Assembly. When riots spread through American cities in 1967, these memories were fresh and powerful. The question was how, not if, the UUA would respond to the rebellion in Black communities, the radicalization of Black consciousness, and the further fracturing of a civil rights movement that had never been monolithic.
Especially on days like today, I like to be a little out of, I feel like the pulpit is great, but I feel a little confined. Need to have some space. Riots, rebellion, empowerment controversy, tragedy, fit of white entitlement, that's my favorite. In researching this sermon, I couldn't help but think of the theme we just finished in January on story, and how we spent some time talking about the power of the words that we use, why we use them, why they matter. There is a famous sentiment, I did a little research, I can't find exactly who came up with this, but the famous sentiment that is probably familiar to you, that history is written by the victors. Right? So what we know is that events happen and we look back at them. Sometimes they're a little more clear, sometimes they're a little more muddy, because now we have some more information that makes things easier or harder to grasp. So I want to tell you a story today where there are no true victors, there's just complications and how we continue to live with this. In this month on inclusion, I struggled with talking about the ways that we say we are inclusive, and yet we do not yet see these wishes for what we say we want coming into our congregations across the entire country, unless you happen to be in a much larger city. And we struggle with why that is, especially racial diversity. Why? Why do we not have that experience? And we struggle with the whys. I believe one of the reasons that we don't experience more racial diversity because as a movement, we haven't done a true, what I would call a review, or in the religious language of being able to really look at these ashes, like the sackcloth and ashes movement of what is our responsibility. We haven't really come to understand what has happened in our past. And it is not enough to be against racism. We must be consciously anti-racist. We must actually take these stands. And so I struggled with telling you about this because nobody likes to learn uncomfortable things. One of my ulterior goals is for you to love Unitarian Universalism. So that means, like, I don't want to tell you not so pretty things. But that's our story. I can't not tell you. Now, I want to tell you that some of this history comes from parts of our curriculum called Resistance and Transformation, and some is work from Mark Morrison's read book, Revisiting the Empowerment Controversy, and some from a video of different interviews that kind of pull some of this information together. So, as Jesse read earlier, the involvement of Unitarian Universalist clergy and lay people in the series of civil rights marches in between Selma and Montgomery, Alabama in 1965. Now, just a little backstory. Remember that the Unitarians and the Universalists were two separate denominations until 1961. So imagine these two separate groups of people came together in 1961, still working through their stuff, and then the civil rights marches happened in 1965. So this is actually kind of considered the high point. It is often regarded as the high point in Unitarian Universalist social justice efforts because of what Jesse mentioned earlier, that two people, part of our movement, died, and so they are considered martyrs to our faith, although Viola Luisa's family has kind of separated her history from us as well, so it's complicated. During this time, 3 people were killed by white supremacists: Jimmy Lee Jackson, a young African American. The 2 others, Viola Luisa and Reverend James Reeb, were both white Unitarian Universalists who were participating in the marches after Jackson's death. Reeb's assassination is credited by many with drawing national attention to the struggle for voting rights and prompting passage of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. President Lyndon Johnson sent yellow roses to Reeb's hospital room, and Martin Luther King Jr. preached Reeb's eulogy. King's eulogy summed up the vision of the integrationist arm of the civil rights movement by saying he was a witness to the truth that men of different races and classes might live, eat, and work together. That vision was tested over the next decade within the Unitarian Universalist Association and what has become known as the empowerment controversy, because it's not one thing you can point to. It happened over many years. The controversy began in October 1967, a few years after, at what was called the Emergency Conference on Unitarian Universalist Response to the Black Rebellion at New York's Biltmore Hotel. The conference had been called in response to the rising tide of protests in America's inner cities. The conference was attended by about 140 people, of whom about 40 were African American. Shortly after the conference began, the majority of the African American attendees withdrew from the planned agenda to form what's called the Black Unitarian Universalist Caucus, or BUUC. We love our acronyms. The caucus was immediately controversial. Some delegates to the Biltmore Conference alleged that it was engaging in separatism or reverse racism, because this was the first time, here are some lovely white people who are like, we're going to do this thing, but they didn't really like that the African Americans who were in attendance said, we need to do this. So they had their own reaction. After the meeting, the caucus demanded that the conference endorse, without amendment or debate, a series of proposals calling for African American representation on the UUA Board of Trustees, Executive Committee, and Finance Committee, as well as subsidies for Black ministers. Most remarkably, they called for the creation of a UUA-affiliated Black Affairs Council to be financed by the UUA at $250,000 per year for 4 years. The Biltmore Conference endorsed their proposals. They said, we will support this. When presented with the proposals endorsed by the Biltmore Conference, the UUA board rejected them. Instead, the board decided to fund a national conference for BUUC. At that conference, more than 200 participants reaffirmed the caucus's prior demands. I love it when a committee says, yes, let's do that. The UUA board response was to create, again, a fund for racial justice now with an annual goal of $300,000 to be administered by a newly created Commission for Action on Race. We love creating committees. The Black Affairs Council's application for affiliate status with the UUA was also granted, but no promise was made to fund that organization. BUC chairperson Hayward Henry charged that the board's refusal to fund the BUC and allow the BAC to control such funding directly reflected a traditional racist and paternalistic approach to Black problems. Over the next few months, as preparations were made for the 1968 General Assembly, supporters organized to place a resolution to fund BAC on the Assembly's official agenda. We all know that how power happens is by putting things on agendas. UUs who opposed the BAC resolution formed a separate organization, because we love to do that, called the Black and White Alternative, or BAWA, to provide an independent denominational agency in which Black and White Unitarian Universalists can work together as equals. So now we have two groups. The assassination of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King shortly before the 1968 General Assembly changed the shape of race relations in the UUA and set the tone for the meeting. In the wake of King's death, BAC supporters became more strident and more explicitly linked to the growing national Black Power movement in the country. Remember, we are never separate from what's happening in the world. The GA passed the motion to fund BAC by a vote of 836 to 326. So it was quite large. And it's interesting that this was placed on the agenda to actually vote to tell the organization how to spend its money. Victor Carpenter wrote that this showing of support for BAC's agenda, quote, gave the nation its first example of a denomination's making a significant reparational response to the conditions of racism in America. So this felt like a huge step forward, like, wow, we have done something. The action approved by the 1968 GA soon ran aground, however. The association's finances were in dire straits. Now, at the time, there wasn't near the transparency as there is now, and that board president didn't tell people a whole lot of things. So they were not in good shape. They couldn't actually do this, what the GA, all the delegates agreed to. This was only known by the UUA administration and the board. In an attempt to relieve some of the financial pressure that the association faced, the president tried to alter the financial outlay called for in the resolution, making an offer to BAC to divide the $1 million total payment over 5 years instead of 4. Instead, the board reintroduced the issue of BAC's funding as part of the 1969 Assembly agenda. Their intention was to require reaffirmation of BAC's financial support each year. So 1 year they thought, we have done this thing, it's going to happen, and then the board said, I don't know, and they're in a tough situation because they also are aware of the finances. In my research, I found that it was fascinating that BUUC, the Black Unitarian Universalist Caucus, their second meeting, it was actually held in Detroit in February of 1969. Now, I think some of you were around then, but just to be aware that this geographic area had some role in that. So all of this set the stage for the most dramatic General Assembly probably ever. Now, we thought last year was a big deal. 1969 was the big deal because when even watching the videos and people talk about it, there was actually shoving. There was actual people yelling. It was not pretty in any way because now we have a situation where we thought the decision was made, but then they come into this GA with people who think we've got it all figured out, they've created an agenda, but now they want to, the people with the BAC realized that the vote on this was put as the very last thing. And so they said, no, we want you to change that agenda to have this come to the front, not wait a week, because okay, who's been in a long meeting? Does anybody have thoughts or attention or energy at the end of the meeting? They do not. So they said, no, we want you to move this. And so they had a vote to change it, and it did not pass. So the next day, a motion was made to reconsider again the order of agenda, and when the motion lost, the Black Unitarian Universalist Caucus quietly got up and walked out. They got up, moved out. This was in Boston. So they got up and walked to the Arlington Street Church. So the caucus, the meeting was being held at a hotel. The Arlington Street Church was literally down the street. They got up and walked out. The Reverend Jack Mendelson addressed the assembly for those who were left behind, saying, "Our black delegates of BAC have now left the room. They have left this assembly, and they have left our movement, because life and time are short. The assembly is returning to business as usual and to the position of black people at the back of the bus." Mendelson invited those who shared his feelings to join him down the street at the Arlington Street congregation where he was the minister. There's some amazing pictures of even the LRY like hanging out at over the balcony and like everything that happened there. In a show of solidarity with their black co-religionists, more than 400 people, all white, joined Mendelson. And then later that day, the UUA board president came to that church and said, in tears, please come back. We are a family. Please come back. The next day, they rejoined. The caucus members remained in the association, and BAC won full funding by vote of the GA delegates. A few months later, the UUA board, again, facing the ongoing fiscal crisis and their own legal responsibility because, of course, they had employees and bills to pay, they had to face this responsibility, and they separately voted to reduce the grant to the BAC from $250,000 to $200,000 and spread the $1 million over 5 years instead of 4. BAC's members decided to disaffiliate from the UUA and attempted to raise money for the organization's programs directly from UU congregations and institutions. Over the course of a few months, they were able to raise $800,000 from 2 organizations and 3 congregations. This money was raised through bonds that were marketed primarily as investments. Despite this initial success of fundraising, the BAC, beset by internal strife over differences in strategy, direction, and loyalties, slowly faded from the UU scene, and many of its members left UU altogether. This is one of the reasons why this period in time is called a tragedy. There's no defined way to know exactly how many people we lost over time. Mark Morrison's book talks about that they believe that we lost about 25% of our members across the whole denomination. In time, the BAC changed its name to the Black Humanist Fellowship, and then eventually the Black Humanist Fellowship also dissolved, and its demise is marked by what people think of as the end of the empowerment controversy. However, the feelings these events caused remain raw even today. So I was a member of my home congregation in North Carolina for 10 years and never learned about this. At seminary, I was required to learn UU history, and I was shocked to learn about this particular piece of our history because we don't talk about it. Like, why don't we talk about it? Not just that it happened, but that it's just not something like the average person doesn't know. Why is that? And I remember a moment of awareness going into the library and into the stacks where all the sections, I went to an interfaith library, so there was like one section where it was UU stuff. And I remember going into there and seeing the different curriculums over decades, so you can go to and look at all the different time periods where we, once again, created curriculum that said we are going to look at our stuff and like over time, over and over and over again. I remember looking at that and going, why? Why have we still not done our work when so many people have tried? It was kind of like frustrating to me. Why are we still in this situation? And I do wonder if it's because we don't know this history. I do wonder because I wonder how many of you who might have been around then knew that that BUC meeting happened in Detroit. Was this congregation aware of that? I don't know. I think it matters because even within our movement today, there are people who complain about Black people in positions of leadership in the UUA. I have personally heard them, even just a few months ago. We strive to be people who live our values, and we are products of our world as well. We are rightfully horrified by what is happening with the presidential administration every single day, and we want to literally save the world. It is one of our ongoing programs. But being inclusive starts with us noticing our own reactions to hearing this history. Noticing how we feel when people talk about the words, the Detroit riots versus the Detroit uprising versus the Detroit rebellion. What are the words that we still hold on to? Who do we give power to? What are the words that we are going to actually live into? What is the story we are going to tell about us now? What is the story people are going to tell about this congregation 20 years from now? Now is the time. We have to do it now. What makes us cringe and what makes us move forward through our discomfort? Because staying in it and saying, I don't like hearing it, that's one place to be, but it's not a place to stay. We each have our own answers to these questions for ourselves. As the months and years continue with this current presidency, we are going to have to work harder to really and truly live what we say we believe. I know it's probably a little scary when Jesse held up this sign and you're imagining putting it in your yard. But today is the day. Yesterday was the day. We still have to do it now. Are we going to tell our whole story, even the parts that make us uncomfortable? I can't help but think of James Baldwin's quote, "If I love you, I must tell you who you are." Or are we going to stay in our lovely white church in the woods next to the golf course and say, we're just so comfortable here, it's so pretty? And it is, but it's not the place to stay. We have to move forward, take our stands, and be the people who, as the choir is going to sing in a minute, let justice roll down like waters. We are going to be the people moving through our own fears and taking a stand together. May it ever be so. Amen.
Actually, we're actually going to not sing the last hymn, so, sorry, choir. We are Universalist Unitarians who put love at the center of our lives. As we go out into the world, let us remember to include others and break down the barriers that keep people out.
There's only one way to reach across the border. There